Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, we're diving into a filing that shows just how interconnected our financial world really is, and it involves more than just simple numbers. We're looking at a report from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston, or FHLB, of Boston, and it is all about how they manage their money, specifically the big loans, or as they call them, consolidated obligations. Think of it like a massive juggling act with billions of dollars. The 10th of October 2025. That is the key date for this report. So the FHLB of Boston is a big player, and like many financial institutions, it gets its money by selling debt, which are these consolidated obligations. Now, here is where it gets interesting and a bit complex. These aren't just the obligations of the Boston Bank alone. The report tells us that all 11 federal home loan banks are actually joint and severally liable for all these consolidated obligations. What that means is if one bank can T-pay, the others have to step in and cover it. So, the Boston Bank is on the hook for loans it might not have even issued directly just because it is part of this bigger family. It is like your neighbor accidentally maxing out a credit card under your name and you are suddenly responsible for it. Seriously, this is a massive shared risk. Now, this section called Schedule A is where the nitty-gritty details are. It lists out the bonds and discount notes that are committed to be issued. It is like a peek behind the curtain at the bank's borrowing plans. Look at these trade dates. We've got the 10th of October 2025 and then the 14th of October 2025. These are the dates when the deals for these loans were made. And the coupon rates or the interest rates they're paying vary. For instance, one of these has a variable rate tied to something called the Secured Overnight Financing Rate, or SOFR, plus a tiny bit. Another is a fixed 4%. Interesting to see the mix here. The amounts are pretty high. Popping two, we're talking about $50 million for one issuance, and another for $15 million. These are not small potatoes. These numbers represent the principal amount, the face value of the loan. The descriptions of the rate types are a mouthful, but they tell us how the interest payments are calculated. We see variable single index floater, which means the interest rate will change based on a specific market index. Then there is fixed constant, which is more straightforward, a steady interest rate. What also stands out is the mention of optional principal redemption and different call styles like Bermudan. This means the bank has the option to pay back some of this debt early on specific dates. It gives the bank flexibility to refinance if interest rates drop, but it also means investors don't have guaranteed interest payments for the full term if the bank decides to call the loan back. And when it comes to signing off on these important reports, we see George Moran, the Vice President and Treasurer, putting his name on the dotted line on the 16th of October 2025. This is the person responsible for the bank's financial health and making sure these filings accurately reflect the situation. So, what is the big takeaway here? The FHLB of Boston is managing a significant amount of debt, and they are part of a system where everyone is responsible for everyone else's borrowings. This creates a complex web of financial obligations. When we look at the numbers in Schedule A, we see tens of millions of dollars being borrowed. This is standard for a financial institution of this size, but the key thing to remember is that these amounts and the rates associated with them directly impact the bank's profitability. If interest rates rise unexpectedly, the bank could end up paying a lot more than it anticipated, especially on those variable rate loans. And because of the joint and several liability, the financial stability of one FHLB can ripple through the entire system. The big risk here is systemic failure. If one of these FHL banks gets into serious trouble, it could create a domino effect. The report also mentions that these consolidated obligations are not guaranteed by the US government. This is crucial information. It means investors are relying solely on the financial strength of the FHL banks themselves. In conclusion, the Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston is actively managing its debt through the issuance of consolidated obligations. While these are crucial for funding their operations, the shared liability among all FHL banks and the lack of a government guarantee mean that financial oversight and risk management are paramount. The numbers presented are substantial, and the flexibility in repayment options adds a layer of complexity. Alright, that is our breakdown of the FHLB of Boston's filing. What is your take on these shared financial responsibilities and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments if this analysis was valuable. Hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.